Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Bart vs. the Space Mutants, brought to us by Acclaim. Bart vs. the Space Mutants was the first major Simpsons video game released on multiple home consoles and PC systems. And while it was released on tons of different platforms, doesn't necessarily mean it was a great game, featuring some pretty hard to learn controls as well as a plot that really didn't make a whole lot of sense. Bart vs. the Space Mutants may be well known, but it may not be that popular. The game has us playing, of course, as Bart Simpson, who is the only one who's aware of the evil aliens plot. They plan to take over Earth by taking over different amounts of certain items in each level. For example, the first item is covered in purple objects, and you must cover up all the purple objects. The second level features hats, and then you go so on and so forth until you make it to the end of the game. For some reason, the aliens can just change up the item that's needed for their evil machine, but they don't come up with an item that's a little bit more rare for Bart to actually get rid of. So here we go with Bart vs. the Space Mutants for the NES. When you start the game, you get an overall little basic cutscene after the credits roll, showing you that the aliens are taking over the world with purple objects. So your goal here is to get rid of, well, all the purple objects. Not a very deep plot, but it's a plot nonetheless. In order to get rid of these objects, we're pretty much going to be using a spray can in order to get rid of them. Start off by running over to the right, and then bouncing up the windowsills in order to grab the spray can. Then run all the way back over to the left. Another thing you have to worry about in each level, besides the main goal being the objects, you also have to worry about taking out aliens in order to spell out a certain Simpsons character's name. For example, Maggie in the first level. To do so, you jump on different people's heads when they're aliens in order to get rid of them and grab yourself a coin. Run along the clothesline here in order to cover up these objects and continue on. With the humans, if you jump on a human that's not an alien, you take damage. If you hit one that's an alien, you get a coin that helps you spell another piece of the letters that you need for the Simpsons character name. The way you tell the difference between them, of course, is using the X-ray glasses. Using objects in this game isn't the easiest, but then again, nothing is easy in this game as far as controls go. Stop by the tool world in order to grab the wrench. Use the wrench on the fire hydrant in order to cover up an object, and then climb up and take out some more purple objects. Next door you'll find Mel's Novelty Hut. After taking out some more purple objects, be sure to stop inside of the shop in order to buy yourself some bottle rockets as well as a cherry bomb. Be sure you also grab the extra spray cans when you need to in order to replenish the amount of spray that you have so you can keep taking out objects. Buy a lot of the rockets, and you really only need one cherry bomb. For the cherry bomb, all you really need to do is use it in front of the pet shop in order to actually take out the bird. The worst object here, though, is the little ball that you have to get rolling and then bounce it up at the right spot in order to take out a bucket above the Candy Hose Dandy shop so that you can actually take out the bucket and hit the awning at the same time. At the pet shop, be sure to use the cherry bomb to take out another purple object, but then be sure to watch out for the killer dog that spawns right after using the cherry bomb. You'll use your spray gun right on a cop right next door, and then on Jebediah's Springfield statue you use a rocket in order to take out a purple bird. You get a little message from Jebediah Springfield and then jump on your skateboard. On the skateboard, jump over the killer dogs and watch out for any hazards along the way until you make it to the end. The key here though is to make sure that you only have 6 objects left by the time you hit the skateboard. As long as you have 6 left in your goal counter at the bottom of the screen, you know you've hit every purple object up to this point. For the last little bit of the stage, you'll start off by hitting the fountain, doing your best to avoid as many of the aliens that are bouncing up and down the sidewalk as you can. Use more of the rockets in order to hit the Barney's Bowl-O-Rama sign above you, and then continue along. Once again taking out another fountain, and watching out for humans or aliens depending upon what you need left, in order to actually continue on. After making it past the Quickie Mart, you'll find another purple fountain. Be sure to turn that red, and then continue on to the Springfield retirement home. Here you have 3 different windows that are going to be purple. You'll have to hit each window with a rocket at the right spot in order to turn it upwards so that you get rid of another purple object. Once you've taken care of all 3 of the windows, you should have all the purple objects taken care of and the goal achieved. Once the goal is achieved, proceed over to the far right of the screen in order to fight the first boss, which happens to be Nelson. Here, during the boss fight, since we spelled out Maggie, you have a little bit of a bonus. Maggie will throw bowling balls towards you and you can use them in order to take out Nelson. Watch out for his projectile weapon so you don't take any unnecessary damage, but once Nelson's taken care of, we move on to the second level of the game.
Eat my shorts.
The second level has us gathering hats. Definitely this level is a lot more easy in order to get the goal than the first level was overall, because it's not quite as tedious as before, as I really do think there's a lot more than just the needed amount of hats available in the level. The thing is though, there's a little bit more perils to deal with in this level, mainly that a lot of the floor for whatever reason is wet cement. And in order to climb over the wet cement, you'll have to do some pretty tricky platforming. One thing I haven't gotten a chance to really talk about yet is the horrible controls that this game features. The main thing is the fact that run and jump are the same button. In order to do a running jump, you'll actually have to press both the A and B button at the same exact time in order to propel yourself over all the main gaps in the level. While this takes a little bit to get used to, you'll find it in needed spots to be really tricky to pull off. Every so often in the level, you'll have to do battle with Principal Skinner. He always has a hat on his head, so you can use that in order to get one of the goals, and then you'll have to bounce on his head in order to take him out while dodging his projectile weaponry. After defeating him though, you'll take an escalator up to the next floor of the mall. On the next floor, be sure to get a running jump to the hat, and then stand on this trash can and duck down. Doing so, you'll find a secret area containing 6 hats, which will easily deplete the amount of hats you need for your overall goal. Once again, you'll have to watch out for the aliens, and be sure to use your X-ray glasses if needed, in order to take out the aliens so that you can spell Marge this time around, because it'll definitely come in handy for the boss fight at the end of the stage. After dodging a ton of weird, crazy shoes, Principal Seymour Skinner will once again attack you, this time riding a giant boot. Knock the hat off his head and then once again jump on his head in order to do damage to him, watching out for when he bounces around in the giant shoe so he doesn't squash you and cause you damage. After defeating him though, he will automatically give you another one of the letters you need in order to spell out Marge. Be sure to jump up on the escalator in order to collect a couple more hats and then continue along. Here you'll see that we only need one more hat already, and grabbing the first one that we see, you can still see there's other hats laid throughout the level in case you didn't already complete your goal. So it's a little bit more lenient definitely in this stage than we saw in the first one. The tricky part here though is watching out now for all the enemies as we're trying to make it to the goal that we've now unlocked. Another tricky thing about the game is actually using items. In order to use an item in the game, you have to press the select button enough times in order to actually get to the item you want, and then press the start button in order to actually use the item. Doing so quickly can be rather challenging, and sometimes when you really need to pull out that X-ray spec, you won't be able to do so. So you'll find yourself guessing when it comes to the X-ray specs and guessing which people are normal humans and aliens a lot of the times, just because you actually can't get to the item quick enough. At the end of the third floor, you'll have a teleporting and reappearing Seymour Skinner. Once again, just jumping on his head in order to gather the hat, as well as jump on him in order to actually do damage. Watch out for him, as he will throw hats in your direction that you'll have to avoid in order to stop yourself from taking damage. We then go up to the fourth floor, where you'll have to battle the evil babysitter from the first season of The Simpsons. During this fight, Marge will actually help out by throwing items that actually get rid of some of the suitcases the babysitter throws out, but in reality you need these suitcases in order to bounce them back up at the babysitter in order to get rid of her and actually do damage to her. After hitting her with only a few of these suitcases, you'll complete the level and move on to level number 3. The next level is Krusty Land, and this is probably the weirdest and toughest level for me overall in the game, as far as being able to collect the amount of items needed in order to complete the goal. One cool thing is though, there are mini games spread out throughout this level, and you actually can play a variety of them, including roulette, as well as break the balloons and a few other things throughout the stage in order to help yourself gather the goal. But overall, just running through the level, you'll overall be able to find a good amount of the balloons you need to. The hard part here is there is a lot of projectiles and aliens coming your way, including the little boys that throw bombs, as well as evil clowns that will actually float overhead and drop down towards you when they get near you in order to try to run into you. One way to actually get rid of them though is by using your slingshot in order to shoot them, but be careful when you do so, because when you hit them with the slingshot and pop their balloon, you'll then have to actually avoid them when they come rolling down towards you. The other thing is, other balloons will just randomly float by, so you can hit them with the slingshot in order to gather another one of your goals. Midway through the level, you'll run into the Fun House, represented by Sideshow Bob right outside of it. Inside here, you'll actually have to do a little minigame with Itchy and Scratchy by opening and closing doors. What you need to do is open every single one of the 9 doors that are located here. Doing so can be rather tricky, and I usually have trouble doing so. So do your best, and if you're able to, you'll get a nice little bonus, but if not, just wait till the timer runs out, and then the barrier that's blocking you from continuing the stage will go away, so you actually can just move on in the level. Be careful during this next segment, because you'll have pipe organs below you, blowing you up into the air, and you'll have to time your movement correctly so you can keep floating upwards, avoiding objects, as well as making sure that you keep Bart afloat, and grab a couple extra balloons while doing so. When you make it over here, you'll find a giant Krusty face in the background. Climb up all the different platforms and you'll see the eyes following you. Jump on the middle platform to jump inside of Krusty's mouth. Inside here, you'll be taken to a secret bonus area. Inside here, you'll be able to actually grab yourself a couple of extra coins as well as another balloon. Just be careful while here that you're able to make it over to the far right and continue on moving along the platforms here. You can still see that we need a decent amount of balloons here, so gather as many as you can. Thankfully the balloons spawn randomly during the level of the game, so that you'll actually be able to keep getting certain balloons and just keep respawning over and over again, and in theory collect the same balloon over and over again in order to complete the goal. Once outside, you'll be in the final stretch of this level. Grab the few extra balloons, once again jumping over all the evil clowns that you see along your way. The big final area of the level, though, is a giant Ferris wheel. You can drop down to the center in order to grab a nice little bonus of a Krusty head, and then when you continue over to the right, you'll see that the screen will stop unless you have all the amount of balloons that you need. So, if you don't have all the balloons you need, ride the Ferris wheel back over to the left. Right near the beginning of this area is a good way of just moving back and forth and getting plenty of extra balloons to spawn. It'll take a little bit, but eventually we'll get all the balloons we need for the goal, and we'll be able to go to the boss. After we have all the balloons needed for the boss, run over to the right, going through the Ferris wheel again, and battle Sideshow Bob. In order to actually deal with him, all you have to do is actually jump on the edge of his feet. As you know, Sideshow Bob has very large feet, so you jump on the edge of his toes here in order to do damage. Gathering all the letters for Lisa, you'll have Lisa flying overhead, dropping down bowling balls in order to do extra damage to Bob. Just avoid Bob when he bounces back and forth and make sure he doesn't land on top of you, and you should be able to easily take him out and move on to the next level of the game. The fourth level of the game has you getting exit signs, and this is probably the toughest level so far.
Eat my shorts.
You'll see right away that you only need a handful of exits in order to actually complete the stage. However, getting to all these exits can be rather tricky. One cool thing is you'll get the dart gun right away. Climb up the windowsills properly so you can actually see the exit sign to the far left at the very beginning of the level and hit that one for your first exit sign. You'll now need only 5 more while moving your way through the stage, but trust me, there's only 5 more to actually gather. In order to gather an item from the art case, all you really need to do is jump on it multiple times and you'll see the item will come flying up towards you. Jump on this one to the far right to gather some coins, and then be sure to use your dart gun in order to hit the exit sign. Now you need only 4 more while moving your way through the level. The next area of this stage though is a forest type area. Be careful of the dragonflies as well as the bugs crawling along the ground, and use some proper jumping in order to avoid the quicksand and be able to land on top of the small alligators that you can see moving back and forth in the water. Unfortunately, if you end up missing one of your jumps, you will end up losing a life here, so it can be rather tricky making your way over the open water. Near the end of the area, you'll have to dodge 5 spiders that are moving up and down on their web, but once you get past them, you'll have to battle an evil plant. Take out the plant by either jumping on top of it or just shooting it with your dart gun. Once it's taken care of, you'll be able to jump on its stem and hit the next exit sign. Right to the right is the 4th exit sign, so be sure to jump on the painting windowsill in order to take out that. Be sure to once again watch out for the alien inside here. Be sure to also take out all the aliens that you can possibly see through the security guards and all, so you can be sure to spell out Homer throughout the level. Grab any extra dart guns you may see along the level though, so you have plenty of ammo for the rest of the stage. Next, you'll have to make another jump into this windowsill in order to hit the next exit sign. You now only need one more exit sign in order to complete the level, but you have a little bit to go in order to actually get it. The next segment has falling floors, and what you'll have to do is jump on the red square, wait for the next red square to appear, and then jump on that. If you jump on any of the other squares, you'll end up falling through and end up losing a life that way. So just patiently wait for the next jump to appear and then make a long jump near the end. Next up, some bricks will actually pop out of the wall and you'll have to use these in order to make it over a rather large gap, watching out for the killer snakes that try to pop out of the ground and try to grab you. Watch out for the snakes and spears, and then you'll have another weird segment here. You'll have 3 statues in the background. You'll have to start off by jumping at the far right one and you'll get an Ankh. Then you'll have to do the same to the left one and get another Ankh. As you'll see, the middle platform will actually start to rise. So you'll have to hit these in the exact right order in order to get all the Ankhs to appear and gather them so that the platform gets high enough. Just do your best to avoid all the spiders that come falling out of the ceiling and then crawl across the ground. This level doesn't give you enough time in order to complete it, so run over quickly to the next segment and take out the evil mummy. If you do so correctly and then you end up losing a life, you'll appear right near 2 more exit signs and get a nice respawn point right where you ran out of time. If not, you'll have to repeat a large segment of the stage that we just did. Take out 1 more of the 2 exit signs and then all you have to do is continue over to the right. There's a decent amount of the stage actually still left to go through, mainly this whole space area, but thankfully you already have the goal for the level. Here, be very careful, do not jump in the weird black abyss, and wait for the little platform to float by before you attempt to jump over. Next up, you'll be on some tar pits with a lot of alien dinosaur bones. Jump on the floating skulls as they move back and forth through the tar pits, so you can make it over to the next set of skeletons. Just take your time and jump correctly and you should be able to make it through. Once you make it to the end though, you'll have a boss battle against a giant dinosaur, and this boss battle isn't too easy. What makes it difficult is the timing. If you get the timing down, it can be easy. But what you have to do is jump a little bit past its eye and hit it directly on its forehead at the exact right spot by either shooting it or jumping on it after it shoots a projectile in order to do damage to it. Then run past a little bit more of the museum lasers and fight Dr. Marvin Monroe. All you have to do is quickly jump on his head 3 times and he'll easily be taken out. Even though Homer is with us, helping us in the background, he's not much use here, and all you really need to do is jump on the head of Marvin Monroe really quickly and move on to the final level of the game.
shorts.
The aliens have finally had it, and now all they want is the nuclear rods. So, what do you have to do? You have to collect all the nuclear rods in the nuclear power plant in order to complete the stage. And the final stage of the game is a very large maze, broken up into several segments that you'll actually need a combination in order to open up certain doors. Thankfully though, if you watch the screen, you'll see all the combinations displayed on there, and you'll be able to enter through all the doors. The unfortunate thing is, though, you'll have to keep re-entering all these combinations every time you come back. In order to move up to the next floor, all you have to do is press up near one of the doors that's numbered. Follow the path that I take in order to find as many of the rods as you can as quickly, and pretty much the best pattern you can do so. Since the level is a lot more open than the other levels in the game, you have a little bit more freedom for how you're going to take it down. But the path I take is overall, I think, the best path, and at least the easiest for me to get through. Go all the way to the 5th floor here and grab the next rod, as you'll have 4 of them now, and then traverse yourself all the way back down to the 3rd floor. Watch out for the aliens here, and then run over past more aliens through another one of the doors you'll have to use a combination on. Here we use the combination of 11 in order to open up this door and continue on. Eventually you'll run into an elevator and find Marge. By doing so, she'll take all the rods that you've gathered so far and take them down to the core and enter them into the machine. Once she does so, then you'll finally see the goal counter actually start to go down. After dealing with Marge the first time though, we'll continue on and move on to the 4th floor. After doing so, wait for the elevator again, and now move up to the 5th floor. From here, move over to the left side. At this point, Marge should show up and enter in the few rods that we've already gathered, so now we're down to 12 total that we need more to collect. Over to the left though, you'll find another one of those doors you'll need to enter a combination into. Now if you're wondering, how do you find all these combinations? Well, there actually is a way, and that is that Lisa is spread out throughout the different areas of the nuclear power plant, and she'll give you the different combinations for all the doors. Thankfully though, these combinations remain the same no matter how many times you replay the game, so you can just enter them when you need them and actually move on and not have to deal with Lisa at all. After making it back to the 2nd floor, run all the way over to the left side and use the next elevator in order to go to the 4th floor. Here you'll find Lisa, and she'll give you another one of the combinations, but mainly you just want to grab the power rod that's on the far left. Then, jump over to the far right and grab yourself another one of the nuclear rods, and then go back to the elevator. One thing I will mention now, and that will come into play later on, is Maggie. If you see Maggie crawling along the floor, just do your best to remember where you see Maggie, because where you see her will be very crucial to actually completing this stage. When you make it back to this floor, use another one of the combination switches in order to enter 32 and move on to the next little part of the nuclear power plant. Here you'll find another one of those doors and enter it in order to go down to the 1st floor. Here you'll see one of the nuclear rods above you, but don't worry, we'll get it a little bit later. Instead, right now we're going to head over to the left and go to this elevator. Jump over to the far left, you'll find another one of the Lisas, but also find another one of those nuclear rods. We also see the location for Maggie. Maggie actually does change, and she's located in a few different locations, depending upon when you start your game. So sometimes she may be here on the 3rd floor, or she may be at another location. That's why I said to remember where she will be located. After getting back down to the first floor, then go back up to the second floor, ignoring that one rod once again, and continue over to the far left, entering the combination to go through this door. Doing so, once again, watch out for all the aliens and make it back to the elevator area where Marge will once again spawn and you can give her more of the rods. This will decrease the amount of rods that we now need for the goal and we can collect the last few rods that we need. Unfortunately, you'll have to enter the door combination once again here, but head back over to the door on the far right. Go back down to the first floor and collect that rod that we've been missing the last few times. Head up to the third floor and grab the second one. We only need 4 more and we already have 2 of them, so we only need 2 more now. Head over here to the left and once again enter another one of the door combinations. This time being 41, and we grab ourselves the third power rod. We now have all the actual power rods that you can find throughout the levels. However, there is one last power rod that we need to locate. First though, you need to head back to the main elevator and go all the way down to the basement and enter in the 3 rods that we've already found. Only 1 rod is needed, and what's that final rod? Well, it actually happens to be Maggie's pacifier. So remember where Maggie was located and head to her location in order to pick her up and use her as the final rod we need in order to actually complete the game. Once you find Maggie, you pick her up and use her as the final thing for the nuclear reactor, and then you can sit back and enjoy the ending to Bart vs. the Space Mutants.
Cool, man. Cool, man. Cool, man.
Bart vs. the Space Mutants was the very first Simpsons game, and with that though, you really couldn't expect too much more from Acclaim. I mean, the Simpsons license didn't really give you an opportunity to make an easily accessible game. Of course, Konami did wonders with the Simpsons arcade game, but Acclaim unfortunately just couldn't find exactly what they were looking for as far as the Simpsons platformers went on the NES. Unfortunately, this led to many other mediocre Simpsons titles, and had this been the only one that was like this game would have easily been forgivable. But in the end, Bart vs. the Space Mutants was just the first of many disappointing Simpsons video games. But with that, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.